Just finishing this claim to get Dave back on the road.
Nice. I wonder what Dave's doing.
You do your thing. We've got you covered.
Hey, is the power off on this?
I don't know. Just take it off.
Safety violation, unsafe work conditions.
In the construction trades unions, safety is our highest priority, and we train you to recognize and speak out on unsafe working conditions so that everyone arrives and goes home safely. Learn about careers in construction at georgiaconstructioncareers.com.
Good afternoon and welcome to the 332nd episode of the Alfa Insurance Georgia Prep Sports Drive for the GHSA State Title. Today we're going to go over the Sweet 16 basketball results, break down each classification. We'll look at the Elite 8 matchups. We got tons of recaps and results to get into. And then we're going to have on GAC's lacrosse coach, Coach Babb. We'll talk about their start to the season. They're 3-1 right now. And we'll close out the show with my top matchups in the Elite 8. Let's go ahead and start with Class 7A on the boys' side. First thing that stands out, you got 4 Cobb teams, 3 Gwinnett, and then 1 Fulton, and that's Milton. So you're going to have 1 Cobb County matchup this week, and that's going to be Campbell and Wheeler. They have not met this season, and Wheeler has really come on strong. Milton has also. They've probably got the best win streak out of the teams that aren't McEachern and Grayson in 7A. They've looked like a different team since the turn of the new year, but Wheeler's been really impressive. They've had a tough playoff draw, and they had a 63-51 win over Berkmar in the Sweet 16. So let's go over that one right now. So that was their 12th straight win. They jumped out to a 30-16 lead. That was Amari James hit a 40-foot three-pointer at the buzzer to give them that 14-point lead, and then they just cruised to victory. I think what has helped Wheeler in the playoffs was these tough matchups they've had against Walton, where they really turned on the defense. They got beat by Walton the first time, but then locked it down, held them to 46 points and then 41 points. And that defense has helped them. And then offensively, they're starting to get some balance. Josh Hill, 20 points. Amari James, who hit that buzzer beater at the half, finished with 13. And then they held off a 20-point effort by Berkmart's Makai Ragland. So Wheeler's going to play Campbell up next. Campbell avenged last year's first-round loss to Valdosta. They lost that one in a heartbreaker, 61-60. So they knew, all right, this is a tough opponent. They ended our season last year. Well, they utterly dominated 75-49. So that was a big hurdle for Campbell to get over. But now they've got to square off with Wheeler, an experienced team. Should be a great Cobb County matchup this Wednesday. All right, so you also have on the boys' side in 7A another Cobb County team, McEachern. They beat Newton 67-64, and they had to come back and rally in that game, and it's what we've seen throughout this season. Heroic performances by the best player in the state, if not the country, Ace Bailey. The 6'8" scoring machine. He had a 40-20 game earlier this year. He's played on ESPN, and I think if McEachern's going to win this 7A title, we're going to see a truly historic individual effort. People that were at this game, the thing that stood out to them was Ace Bailey putting the team on his back and allowing them to come back in that. He had a game-high 33 points, and that's been pretty typical of him throughout the season and playoffs. So Newton was up 17-9 after the first quarter. They were up 33-29 at the half. But the All-American Ace Bailey led them to the 67-64 victory. Just clutch performance. and he was unstoppable. Newton came up just short. Norcross, they've had a good season. I think the key with them is their point guard, Toby Ajokwu. We saw them play Douglas in the Corky Kell. The rest of the team was struggling. He got them going. But in this win, they relied on their defense and got great contributions. You had Toby with 14, Casey Williams 10, Alex Pace 10, and Jaron Salisbury 8. They beat a really good Buford team. They were up 29-23 at the half, and then 43-38 heading into the fourth quarter. So you're going to have Norcross heading to McEachern this Wednesday. Should be a very interesting matchup, but obviously the key is going to be Ace Bailey. And can Norcross limit him enough and shut down the rest of the surrounding cast? They can't allow guys to get going from deep, because they got their hands full trying to stop Ace Bailey, who not only can shoot, can get to the foul line. We've seen the windmill dunks and the excitement he brings. And then in the first round against Westlake, McEachern ended up scoring 105 points, and they got off to a much faster start. So you got to make sure that McEachern doesn't get going early. And that was when Ace Bailey had 10 points in the first 3 minutes of the game. All right, so on the other side of the bracket, you're going to have a Gwinnett County matchup between Peachtree Ridge and Grayson. Grayson, like a lot of these 7A results, had a very tight game. Carrollton was up 22-21 in the half. They stayed with Grayson up until the third quarter, but then the Rams closed it out convincingly, 57-44. It was definitely a very tight game, though. Purdue signee Jakari Harris, he heated up in that fourth quarter and ended up scoring a game-high 16 points. Carrollton had a great season. Buford was just too much to handle in that fourth quarter. As for Peachtree Ridge, they beat Mountain View 50-41, another defensive battle. I think the Peachtree Ridge and Grayson game should be a good one. And then in the bottom right, the final Elite 8 matchup on the boys' side, you have Milton. They held off Walton 57-49. They're in control the whole game. Luke Flynn tried to get going with some really deep three-point shots late in the fourth, but Milton had a good game plan, executed well, didn't commit the turnovers, and were able to slow the game down and get a solid win. And then Pebblebrook, they defeated number 4 seed Archer 72-53. Archer upset Camden County in the first round, but Pebblebrook had a very strong performance. Arthur Williams 24 points, and Zyrie Brown had 20, scoring 44 of Pebblebrook's 72 points. And then Caleb Thomas, he had 12 points, and I think this is the most I saw in the entire state. He had 13 assists in that win over Archer. So shout out to Caleb Thomas. He was getting his teammates involved. That's the reason why Arthur Williams and Zyrie Brown were both able to get so many opportunities. So Pebblebrook Milton, that should also be a fantastic matchup. I really like the boys' Elite 8 matchup. So on the girls' side in Class 6A, Campbell, their girls advanced also. They had the 65-49 win over Colquitt County at home. They're going to face Cherokee. Cherokee's coming off a big 32-point win over Lambert. You're going to have North Paulding at Buford. And then on the right side of the bracket, Norcross is going to take on number 1 ranked Grayson. Grayson dominated McEachern 76-31. And then the final matchup, the Milton girls, they defeated Walton 66-56, and now they are going to have to travel down to Lowndes, who was a 1-point winner over Carrollton, 57-56. And let's see. In the Buford win over North Gwinnett, this is going to be an interesting thing that North Paulding's going to have to definitely game plan for. They made 13 three-pointers in their win over North Gwinnett. That is not going to work. If you allow them to heat up like that, you have no chance of winning. Buford was up 57-15 at the half against North Gwinnett. Just a night where they just caught fire from deep. And then Cherokee, the key for their victory was a 29-point performance by Tony Warren, one of the highest scoring efforts we saw in the state. Obviously, Ace Bailey had 33, but that is a big-time performance by Tony Warren. All right, let's look at, before we bring on our guest, I think Class 4A on the boys' side had the most parity and some of the biggest upsets, with McDonough and Pace Academy both going down. Those are the only two teams that have been ranked number one this season, and for good reason. Pace Academy won the state title last year, returned all their guys. They're led by Coach Sharman White, who has the most state titles in state history, and then McDonough was able to beat them 2 out of 3 and have been playing phenomenal. And so Westminster, their boys beat McDonough, who was the top seed, and then Holy Innocents had a very impressive win over Pace Academy. So that really shakes things up. I know I've focused a lot this season, giving a lot of praise to McDonough and Pace Academy, but now it's at the point where we seriously have to reset and look at what Holy Innocents has been able to do this season, and then Westminster, and how this impacts the rest of the Class 4A field. I think one of the best matchups that I'm interested in 4A this week is going to be between two region champions that are each having their best season in school history. That's New Hampstead in Region 3 and then North Oconee in Region 8. And I believe they both have 12-game win streaks heading into this matchup. This has been, I think, for New Hampstead, I think it was their first ever region title, but they played a lot of close games early on, were able to come up with clutch plays, and then they have just dominated. So it was a 66-46 win over Cairo in the Sweet 16, and then North Oconee, same sort of deal. They've played some close games, avenged previous losses. They beat Central Carroll 91-66. So two of the hottest teams in Class 4A are going to square off, and one of their historic seasons is going to come to an end. The other one is going to punch their first ever ticket to the Final Four. So it's a really exciting matchup. Above them, Westminster, after defeating number 1 ranked McDonough 58-50, they're going to travel to Baldwin. I want to break down that matchup because McDonough was in control for most of the game, and it was just a dominant fourth quarter that allowed the Wildcats to escape with the win. So visiting Westminster outscored McDonough 18-3 in the fourth quarter. Just absolutely stunned them to punch its ticket to the Elite Eight. Westminster did jump out to a 16-11 lead after the first quarter, but McDonough reclaimed the lead 27-21 after outscoring Westminster 16-5 in the second quarter. So they had all the momentum back on their side, but then in the fourth quarter, 18-3, Westminster was able to outscore them. So that is a crushing defeat for McDonough. I know that one's going to hurt, but they did have a phenomenal season, and we'll see if Westminster can keep its run going. They're going to face, as we mentioned, Baldwin in the next round. Holy Innocents, they were able to defeat Pace Academy 62-58. They are going to host Whitewater, and then the other matchup, Benedictine, who made the Final Four last year for the first time but fell to Fayette County. They're going to take on Seconder, the second-year program that is going to play in the Elite Eight, obviously, for the first ever time, and they've made history as well. So you take out the number 1, number 2 in this last round, and you have a lot of opportunity for these teams to punch a ticket to the Final Four and really establish themselves as a potential championship program, which would be an incredible feat. But in the Holy Innocents win, They eliminated defending state champion Pace Academy at home and extended its win streak to 13 straight while improving to 24-6 overall. The Golden Bears were eliminated in the first round last year to McDonough, the team that topped Pace Academy in the Region 5 championship and gave them the number 2 seed. The Golden Bears trailed early before sparking a 13-0 scoring run to take a 13-7 lead after the first quarter. Holy Innocents grew its lead to 17 points before taking a 33-24 lead into the half. So they led by as much as 17 in that second quarter. And they were fueled by Devin Hutchinson's 13 points in the first half. Caleb Wilson, one of their other leading scorers, he had 10 first half points and 4 blocked shots. And then Hutchinson continued to keep the Golden Bears out front, adding 16 more points in the second half and finishing with a game-high 29 points. And they led 47-37 heading into the fourth before holding on to the 4-point victory. So 4A is going to be an outstanding Elite 8, and we'll get back to more basketball on the other side. But let's take a quick break, thank our sponsors, and then we'll be joined by Coach Babb.
What you doing?
Hey, just finishing this claim to get Dave back on the road.
Nice. I wonder what Dave's doing.
You do your thing. We've got you covered.
Hey, does it matter if this leaks?
It don't matter to me, can't see it from my house.
Illegal use of hands, improper training.
GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com has 14 different highly skilled trades with tuition-free training in our certified apprenticeship programs to train you the right way. Find your career at GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com.
All right, welcome back. So let's get into some lacrosse news. We'll bring on Coach Babb from GAC. How's it going, Coach?
It's going great, man. How are you? It's good to see you again.
Yes, for sure. Sorry to keep you waiting. So I want to ask you about your team this year, but first, let's talk about you. When did you first start playing lacrosse?
So I started playing – sorry, we're in between bells right now. I started playing actually my freshman year at Walton. Didn't make the baseball team, so decided to pick up a lacrosse stick. That was back when Ed Dudley was the head football coach and head lacrosse coach at Walton. So he said, "I get you in the fall. I'd love to have you in the spring." And then Coach Hidalgo stepped in once Dudley went to Ware County after that. But hit the ground running. Didn't start playing until freshman year. Ended up going to play Division III college lacrosse up in North Carolina at Greensboro College. Love it ever since.
Yep, and how was Walton able to, because the sport was pretty new, I think it started around 2005 as a GHSA sport, but Walton was right in the conversation with the Lamberts, the other powerhouses. So how were you guys able to, in your case, pick up the sport for the first time, but compete at the highest level?
I think the two biggest factors for that were just the amount of athleticism and community that Cobb County has, East Cobb, with Walton. Just the hallways are riddled with athletes and really strong community coaches. Tim Pritz, John Holhouse, TJ Canada, Scott Ratliff's dad, Randy Ratliff. They just spent a lot of time, and Mark Case is another phenomenal name in the area. They just poured so much time and effort into growing the game. They took a lot of patience of teaching these, athletically gifted young men the game of lacrosse, because it's complex. It has some unique twists and turns different from, mainstream sports, but they poured their heart and soul into it, and it just paid off dividends. I think it's a phenomenal sport to treat or teach young men how to be patient, resilient, overcome adversity. I love the game of football. I also coach football still. But it's unique and different from the game of football where lacrosse is still very physical, but it's ongoing. You can make a mistake and you've got to adapt on the fly. You know, if you overthrow a receiver on an out route, you get down 2. If you make a bad pass in lacrosse, you got to go back in the hole and defend it. Similar to transition game in basketball too. So it's a unique blend of many different sports.
I think that's just such a great example, though. You didn't play lacrosse until your freshman season because you didn't make the baseball team. You end up playing at Walton with all these great guys that helped build the program, grow the sport, and now you're a head coach. So in the years that have passed, I mean, how have you just tried to really buckle down, learn about the game? Who were some of the mentors and people that have helped you just as a coach?
Like I mentioned, having just going back to Walton, Ed Dudley, again, also had him as a football coach, Rocky Hidalgo, Pat Hall, who I believe's over at Pope or Sprayberry right now. Those were our Walton faculty teachers that were coaches as well. But then in the area, Mark Case, Randy Ratliff, Tim Pritz, John Holhouse, these are all gentlemen that played at the collegiate level and then had sons that went to Walton. And then leading me into my college years, Dan Citrone was my college coach. I played for 5 years at Greensboro College, tore my ACL my sophomore year, so I took a medical red shirt. But ultimately, they took a lot of time. They gave me a different brand of coaching where I love the life lessons I was taught in football. It was, physically tough, mentally tough. And I think the same lessons were taught through lacrosse, but it was in a more endearing way. I think I've created lifelong relationships through the game of lacrosse. Some of my best men, some of my groomsmen at my wedding were my lacrosse guys from college, just lifelong friendships. And I feel that goes in any collegiate sport. It's not just lacrosse based. It's, when you get a group of men to achieve a common goal in any sport, you create those lifelong brotherhood moments. But I had a lot of good coaches on the way. I wish I could look at you right now and say I'm making all of this stuff up day by day. I'm just copy and pasting the phenomenal coaches that I had. The X's and O's are one thing, but it's what they poured into us and showed us how to love each other and care for each other and just great culture. I think culture goes so far. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. So I really tip my hat off to those men that laid the foundation for me.
Yeah, no, that's funny.
Yeah, and so you graduated, I think Walton, it was 2010. I know they've won some state titles, 2 of them. If I remember going to the most recent one.
They won 2011 and 2018. I wasn't there for those.
But did you get to go back to the game with some of the former Raiders and check it out?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
That would have been the summer of my freshman year of college. Came back and watched their little playoff run. I think I watched a Peachtree Ridge game. I watched the Harrison game. I believe that's who they beat in 2011. Just to see some of those guys like Jack Chase, who's now an assistant coach at Walton, helping coach spots out. Jack Chase, sorry. And then I blended Ned Case. Ned Case is an assistant at Lenore Ryan right now, and they just won their D2 national title. So that's huge just to see a lot of these, former Raiders go off into the world and just find success. It's really cool just to see guys from that class because they also pushed me. I was kind of, the big ogre, the big athletic kid who didn't understand the game, and they took time with me as well with the coaching staff to understand and figure it out. And that's why they're great coaches to this day. They're still in the game, still coaching lacrosse, and it's really neat to trace it all back to one point, and then where we are all now today is pretty fun.
Yep, and obviously understanding the game, that it's going to take time, but skill-wise, I think you play defense. What's the hardest part of someone that might have the physical gifts and athleticism? Is it handling the ball? I mean, what's the thing that kind of takes the most time to make yourself able to play at a high level?
Yeah, I'm going to give a shout out to soccer players, hockey players. It's hand-foot coordination are just 2 different worlds and then you got throw in skating as well with hockey. Lacrosse, catching and throwing is tough. Something we say you can't catch, you can't play. Little direct, but there's some truth in it. And I remember we were at St. Pius my sophomore year, and Ed Dudley said, do not throw the ball to Babb. Babb, you're kind of going to be a distraction. And at first, I was like, I can't catch. I don't want to hurt the team. If they throw it to me, I might turn it over or whatever. But then I took it upon myself just to get better. I realized it's a massive team sport. I lived right behind Tim Bridge Elementary School growing up, right there off Roswell Road. And I would hop the fence, on the weekend and just go hit the wall. I would literally bring 5 or 6 balls. Back in the day when we had headphones that went over our head, not these wonderful AirPods, and I just turned on some music and just hit the wall. I mean, it took thousands of uncounted, undocumented reps, and it helped me. And then I realized when I came back that next game or that next year, everyone could see like, wow, he can catch and throw. And it really, really takes time. I think so many kids get fed the narrative of hit the wall, hit the wall, hit the wall. Please, you've got to. There's no way you get better. I wish everyone had a dad or a brother or someone that could play catch with them. But I have 3 older sisters. I had a dad that worked all the time, so it was me and the wall. I just had to go throw the ball, bounce, and I probably missed 100 more than I caught. But eventually I started catching more and more and just developed stick skills. And that helped project my game to where it is now.
And then since going to GAC, what have you seen with the program? It's obviously an exceptional school across the board athletically, but just the type of athletes you're getting. Are you seeing kids that have picked up the sport at a young age? And kind of describe your team this year a little bit.
So right now, I mean, we have an electric group, big group of seniors, strong culture, a group of men that really care for the unit, not a lot of hero ball, not a lot of selfishness. Really impressed with how quickly they bought into my system and my culture last year. Just really shows how phenomenal and resilient these young men are. Coached and taught for 8 years up in North Carolina at Page High School in Greensboro, and then East Forsyth High School in a suburb of Winston-Salem, a little area called Kernersville. And those guys, again, with my youth, were kind of slow to buy in. I think it helps now that I'm 31. I think the kids buy into me a little bit sooner, and I've been doing this for a while, so I think it makes it more manageable and understanding for the new guys. But this year is special. This is a very talented group. Ironic to the Spartans, we probably only have about 27 guys on the roster, and that's JV and varsity. We bring up about 8th graders to help fill out our JV team. So we're small numbers-wise, but we're very mighty, and these guys don't have a lot of quit in them. Very impressed with not only how hard, quote, the starters or the guys who get all the film and the notoriety on, they really do a great job behind the scenes of empowering and uplifting everyone on the team. Something we say is we're only as strong as our weakest link. So going back to the you can't catch, you can't play comment, we really emphasize everyone pulling their weight, everyone doing their job, and that's what makes this such a phenomenal team game is one person can make a difference. And as soon as we out-person, then there goes our success as a program. But as soon as we empower that one person, there goes our success as a program. And that's something that's really gravitated me towards this group of seniors and juniors as well. Just our quote leadership culture is something I've never been a part of, and I think the best is yet to come because of that. It's going to be a lot of fun this year for this group.
Yep, and you guys are going to play in a great classification, great region opponents. This isn't your first stop though, so I want to ask you this. I'm sure you don't have this problem at GAC, but when you look at spring sports, you got soccer going on, you have lacrosse, but have you run into a situation where it's tough to find field time for practice, or have there been enough fields for you guys to be able to have your practices while soccer is also able to?
So for us, trying to answer this in the most humble, polite way, without other coaches kind of getting the ick factor. GAC is extremely blessed. Soccer has 2 fields to practice on. We have they have two grass fields to practice on. We have two turf fields that our middle school program practices on for lacrosse, boys and girls lacrosse. So finding field time is not a problem I have to deal with. Where I could definitely speak to it at Walton, we ran into field space, so we actually had to practice at Dickerson Middle School. And then my previous high school up in Kernersville, North Carolina, we would have to practice at a local elementary school due to field space and availability and no turf fields. So if it rained, it was kind of everyone can't go outside and practice. No one got to practice on the game field because it was a very, very well-kept grass field. So I can kind of speak to that in years prior, but right now very blessed to have a lot of resources to use for these men, and just all athletes here at GAC to never miss a practice, never miss a beat. I hope that was the best answer for that. I know some coaches probably might be listening to this and like, that guy has what? Yeah, I'm very, very blessed to have what we have here.
Yeah, I know it's a real thing. I remember hearing the stories because people don't realize, like, in the fall, you have football going on. They obviously have the field to schedule their practices, but there's like a point in the spring where football is trying to have spring practice. You got the boys and girls soccer team, boys and girls lacrosse, and it's like, it can be pretty tough. But I think GAC, it's a good place. But I think it just shows lacrosse has come like a really far way from where it started even just 15 years ago. The participation, the growth in the classifications, and then I think the scheduling's been really exciting also, just out-of-state programs. So how did you guys put together the schedule this year? What are some of the big matchups you're excited for heading into the next few weeks?
Scheduling, a little bit of mutual opponents from last year, just honoring home and away games. Did help with the new classification my first year, being in the 5A, 6A classification for lacrosse, and then next year we'll go down to 4A. So right now we're sitting at 3-1. Have wins over Pace, St. Pius, and Centennial. Took one on the chin to Alpharetta. Had some players hurt, had some players sitting for suspension, so not a full bore game for us, but got to play them all. Showed our depth that day. This week we bounced back with Collins Hill on Tuesday, North Gwinnett on Wednesday, and then a big game at home against Roswell. Not only are they number one in the state currently for 5A, 6A, but I believe they're in the top 5 nationally. In the state of Georgia for all classifications, but they're getting some recognition nationally. So that'll be a big game for them, for us. Brian Wallace does a phenomenal job over there at Roswell. I wouldn't really say this is a rebuild year for them, being reigning state champions, more of a reload. They've got some dogs with Ezra Moore and some really good goaltending situations over there. But in our region, we got a big matchup with Woodward Academy coming up the Wednesday before Good Friday. End of this month. That's something we're looking forward to. That's going to be a big game for us. Woodward's having a good season right now. Play Marist this year. That'll be another big game. They're having a really good year. They just had a big win against Westminster. And then, of course, at the end of the year, we play Wesleyan. That Norcross rivalry. And next year, we'll be in the same area. So that'll be even more dramatic for not only a rivalry game. There's some playoff implications on that. Their record does not reflect what Coach Breslin and those boys are capable of. I think they've lost 2 or 3 games by 1 or 2 goals to top 5 teams in the state. They are riddled with talent. I know their resume right now, if people aren't, really looking at the team, watching film, they're like, oh, they're 1-4. I think maybe 2-4 right now. They're loaded. So that'll be a fun game. It'll be end of the year, it'll be our senior night at home. I think it's April 19th. Really excited just to see where both teams end up, and I'm pretty sure that'll be a top 15 matchup for both teams at the end of the year. I think they're going to continue to bounce back and be as resilient as I know that program can be, and our boys will build and get better throughout the year as well. That's something we like to preach, is we want to play our best ball in April. So that one loss isn't going to hurt us right now. No one's going to remember it as long as we continue to make a long run in the playoffs and push for a state title.
Yeah, I'm glad I have you on now because this is a really exciting week with these matchups. Collins Hill, that's tomorrow, and then I know at North Gwinnett, I think that's Wednesday, as you said. North Gwinnett, I mean,
Yes, sir.
you talk about record. They're 0-3 right now, but they're going to be hungry for a win. So I think that's a good opportunity,
100%.
cross-classification. Yeah.
Donald Hilton does a good job with those boys, and they are another prime example of their record is not a direct reflection of who they are. I know they lost 17-7 to
Roswell,
Walton.
right?
Correct. They played Roswell and lost 21-9, I think, last Friday.
So do you guys
Roswell
look at
again is
film?
very. Yes, sir. Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
We do trade film. That's something I really respect. Is up in North Carolina, it was kind of dog eat dog world. Where down in Georgia, I think there's a bigger camaraderie or fellowship between coaches, similar to the world of football, where I guess it looks worse for you to hide your film, because at the end of the day, you can ask anyone. I'm big on asking the coach that I play, hey, you want to trade film? Let's create a relationship. Let's see where we can help each other down the road. Obviously, we play each other. We're on different sides of the field. But outside of that, we can be friends for 364 days out of the year. So we definitely trade film, and we have about 2 or 3 films on each other that we've traded. Coach Hilton has, in my opinion, a very, very well-talented offense. I just don't think they've had the ball enough to be able to make the net move. Against Roswell, again, the scoreboard said 21-9. I think Roswell had possession 60 to 70% of the game, just buried a lot of their shots. I don't want to say it's directly because North Gwinnett couldn't hang with them. They just didn't have the ball. They made a lot of turnovers, costly mistakes, and Roswell is very, very good at making you pay for your mistakes. Roswell is a team that if you want to beat them, you have to play your best game. You have to play mistake-free lacrosse against them. It's something I like to talk with my coaching staff. Are we playing checkers? Are we playing chess? A team like Roswell, you have to play chess. You have to limit your mistakes, limit your turnovers, expect that they're going to score a few times, and how do you roll on with those punches? North Gwinnett on Wednesday is going to be a similar situation. They're very dangerous in transition. They play fast. They are great at making the net move. Just something they're struggling right now, in my opinion, is possession. I think sometimes they see the scoreboard or they see the clock and they think they've got to score right here, right now, and they rush and play so fast it creates more turnovers. Kind of high risk, high reward at times. But good program. It'll be a really good game. They are definitely a team that their record right now does not reflect who they are. And I think they play Oconee County tonight, and I think they'll bounce back and get their first win tonight.
Yep, so that's interesting. So the 2 opponents you play this week, in addition to Collins Hill, just had that matchup. North Gwinnett's 0-3, team that has great potential, and then Roswell, obviously we've seen what they've done. But last point I want to get into, on this year's team, just any guys you want to give a shout out to, whether it's a senior, guys that you've just been impressed that are putting the work in and stepping up day in and day out.
I really am impressed with the first guy on my heart is Jack Clark, number 10. Played a lot of midfield for us last year. He's a junior as a sophomore. Really stepped into a role due to injury of starting to play attack. He was one of those kids that you had to poke, you had to prod, you had to do everything to get out of him. And now he's a great leader. I see him on the sideline, showing younger kids plays. I see him in the hallway showing kids how to get on huddle and watch film. Really, really impressed with his leadership, and really, he's one of those kids that, again, you had to push forward. Like, he had so much talent and so much potential, but he almost did the bare minimum last year, where now he's going above and beyond the call. So want to let him be recognized. He's got a twin brother, Riley Clark, who's also a junior. He is a freak defender. Really impressed with him. I mean, my entire senior class. Harrison Velsky's going to Richmond. He's a phenomenal leader. He is a great lacrosse player, even better human being. Just came back from a mission trip in Honduras. Same with Tyler Bragg, our starting goalie. Like we mentioned earlier of the culture, these kids are really good at lacrosse, but they are so much better human beings. They're just great stewards. They have a really, really good testimony. It's really fun to be in this atmosphere to not only grow with these young men through sports, but also grow with them through Christ. I think it's just a phenomenal place to be here at GAC. Another guys are like Hunter Bryant. He's doing a great job this year. Will Polhill at LSM. He's developed into a big role. Josh Williams going to University of Alabama Huntsville, D2 program that's catching fire right now. Go Chargers. They're having a great time. I know Coach Fry is out there coming from the Triad area where I was back up in North Carolina. I feel like I'm leaving so many guys out, but really, really happy just to see them work together. Cooper Parsonet's another great guy playing attack. He was a sophomore last year. He's kind of our bull in a china shop guy. He plays fast, plays physical, also plays defensive end for football. So it's unique to see him be, kind of this bully on the defensive end for football, and then still a little bit of a bully on the offensive end, but he's more graceful in lacrosse. I mean, he's got to make the net move, so he's grown a lot from last year to this year. Other guys on the defensive end that we're really proud of, outside of Josh, Will Polhill, and Riley, guys like Lance Wickley, Tanner Butler, they're stepping up. They went from about an 80% JV role to varsity starters this year, and they've grown tremendously. Really, really impressed everyone. And then last but certainly not least, our face-off guy, Noah Hudgens. He is a stud. He's kind of our ace in the hole. He got hurt against Alpharetta, which changed the game plan a lot. We were already down probably 3 guys due to injury or more due to suspension. So when he went out, I had 3 returning starters, and I was like, all right, let's see how we can stop the bleeding. But he's really good at the face-off X. Another one of our Thunder kids. That's someone who I coach for in the club sector, and he's having a breakout year right now. Actually went 100% against Centennial, which is almost absurd.
Wow.
I think their face-off guy was hurt that day, but you still got to get it done. 100% is a big number in any sport. So really, really proud of this group.
That's awesome. And yeah, you mentioned a lot of juniors that I assume have stepped into the starting role. And you talked about the size of some of these guys, whether it was Cooper, I think Tanner Butler, but who is kind of, you said the bull in the China shop, but I mean, lacrosse is a physical sport. I mean, who is that guy where you wouldn't have want to go up against him back in the day?
Someone I never want to meet in a dark alley over Cooper is definitely Hunter Bryant, number 27. He was our tight end for football. He is your Gronkowski-esque. I mean, he has the heart of a teddy bear. He looks scary, and he is scary. He plays physical, but I love that he can turn it off, turn it on in the hallways. He's a gentle giant. He's making the right decisions, getting his grades going. He's going to go to Ole Miss. He's going to play club lacrosse. Really wish something would have happened for him for football and or lacrosse. Big football kid. He had a great year. He's number 84 on the football team. But he is definitely someone I do not want to see in a dark alley. When he is mad, he's a force to reckon with. That kid is a physical specimen. I want to say he's like 6'3", 225. Maybe 6'4". He'll probably say he's 6'4". But I bet you he's 6'3". He's listed as 6'4". Yeah, I might have to go edit Max Preps. But, yeah, we'll give him 6'4". In cleats, he's definitely 6'4".
Nice. Well, hey, Coach, thank you so much for coming on. Best of luck this week. We'll definitely be tracking all those matchups. It's a pleasure to have you on, and go Spartans.
Yes, sir. Go Spartans. Thanks so much, Craig.
Yes, you bet. All right, so there goes Coach Babb, and that's just awesome, getting to learn about their team. Got a bunch of football guys, a lot of size too, and he mentioned the loss against Alpharetta this week. Alpharetta's had a great season. They're 4-1, but he said he had multiple guys out, some of the guys suspended, so this is a huge week for them. We got the Roswell matchup and North Gwinnett. North Gwinnett, top 10 team, made it to the quarterfinals last year. We're, I think, ranked as high as number 3. They're 0-3 right now. And you heard Coach Babb break it down with the Roswell film. They aren't maximizing their talent yet. They aren't taking advantage of the possessions. They're rushing shots. So I think this is going to be, as he said, a chess match. Can they use that defense and toughness to score another big win before they get into that region schedule? Should be very interesting. But let's take one more quick break. We'll squeeze in the final basketball results on the other side.
Dang, where you get this car?
You need to join the union.
The union?
Absolutely. You can get 10 of these.
Union construction workers earn the highest wages with the best benefits and the most protection in the construction industry. Find your career in construction. Go to georgiaconstructioncareers.com and start your future today.
What you doing?
Hey, just finishing this claim to get Dave back on the road.
Nice. I wonder what Dave's doing.
You do your thing. We've got you covered.
All right, welcome back. So let's get into it. Back to basketball, starting with 6A on the boys' side. Really like these matchups. Now let's go to the bottom left of the bracket. Number 4 seed Douglas County against Woodward Academy in the next round. That's going to be incredible. And so Douglas County, they had a huge upset over Shiloh in the first round, and then they just beat Pope in overtime, 53-50. Pope is one of the best defensive teams in the higher classification on the boys' side. And so they are in this overtime battle. But the one thing I thought about Pope, it's as good as they are defensively, if you're in an overtime game, you have to have that guy that's going to step up and take the shot. Douglas County had it. Pope, as good as they were defensively, they didn't have that go-to guy in the crunch, in the final seconds. Douglas County is able to continue its run. They're going to play Woodward Academy on the road. Definitely will be interesting if they can get that win. And if you forgot, Woodward Academy is the team that eliminated them in football this year. All right, you're going to have number 1 ranked Alexander hosting Grovetown, 2 programs that have won state titles the last 3 years. Great 6A matchup. And then Jonesboro getting a huge win over St. Pius, 64-55. Those teams played in last year's state playoffs. It's a great rivalry. Been going to Jonesboro St. Pius playoff games since 2014, and so that was a huge statement win for Jonesboro. They're going to play Hughes in the next round. Hughes has had hot and cold parts of the season, but obviously making it to the Elite 8, they're clicking at the right time. And then you're going to have Woodstock and Riverwood. I think Riverwood is a potential dark horse in Class 6A. I've been really impressed, and they, of course, beat Lee County, last year's state runner-up, in the first round. So they had a huge win over Evans and are carrying a lot of momentum into the Elite 8. All right, on the girls' side in 6A, Pope and Marist, that's going to be the top right. It's going to be a great defensive matchup. Marist just held Lakeside Evans to 23 points. That is their bread and butter, is defense. Same with Pope. You're going to have River Ridge having to travel down to Tift County. Number 1 ranked team. River Ridge entered the playoffs with 59 straight region victories. They have not lost within the state yet. They've been dominant, but that is a long road trip, and we'll see if they can get it done. No more home games. They're going to be at Tift County, and then if they win, it'll be at West Georgia in the semis. and then Macon for the state title. You got North Forsyth playing Woodward Academy, and then Veterans and Hughes matching up. Let's go to Class 5A real quick. On the girls' side, Maynard Jackson, number 1 seed's going to host Union County. You got Cartersville advancing. They'll travel to Harris County. Dalton and Arabia Mountain square off, and then Midtown and Jones County. Midtown, they have been just outstanding across the board athletically. I talked about last spring, the basketball programs. They are a legitimate athletic powerhouse out of the APS district. And I think that'll be a big opportunity for them to get to the Final Four. All right, in Class 5A boys. Look at this really fast. All right, Eagles Landing survived a 52-51 win over Bradwell Institute. I was very surprised about that. I think it's going to be a wake-up call. They beat Northside Columbus by 61 in the first round and then had to claw away a 1-point win over Bradwell Institute. They're going to travel to Tri-Cities next, so they're definitely going to need their A game. Tri-Cities used a defensive game plan to take down Hiram 45-41. So the key with Eagles Landing, obviously, play a slow game because you do not want to go toe-to-toe with them. Northside Columbus found that out in the first round. All right, you got Tucker hosting Jackson Atlanta after a dominant 72-40 win over Jones County. Maynard Jackson is a number 4 seed. I thought they were probably the most dangerous number 4 seed, and they just beat GAC 67-64. So they're going to play at Tucker. You got defending state champion Kell is going to get to host Dutchtown after Dutchtown's win over Statesboro. And then Winterboro, they impressed in a big 94-73 win over North Springs. They're going to host Warner Robins. We already talked about the boys 4A with the big upsets and how wide open that is. The key matchup for me was that New Hampstead, North Oconee. I think that's going to tell us just how good those two teams are, because I think both are capable of making a run, but it's just going to say a lot. All right, on the girls' side in 4A, Baldwin and Stockbridge. Neither has lost within Class 4A this year. Baldwin's been the clear-cut number 1 team. I think they've won 26 straight, one of the longest win streaks, and they just have so much talent with Janae Walker, Madison Ruff, and company. They're good defensively. They're good distributing the ball. There's so many different ways they can beat you, but Stockbridge is having its best season ever, and they are coming off a 63-61 win over Southwest DeKalb. And to beat Southwest DeKalb in that hostile environment, Coach Walton, an experienced team that's won, I think, 7 state titles over the years, I think that's a big hurdle for Stockbridge to get through, and now they're going to be tested with another big matchup, but they will get to host Baldwin. All right, Chesadee is going to host Fayette County. Fayette County girls are number 2 seed out of Region 4. Who took that top seed? That was Stars Mill, which advanced on the bye after the altercation at the Spalding Wayne County. Stars Mill is going to play North Oconee. And then you got a great matchup between Holy Innocents and Region 1 champion Hardaway. So I think out of all those, Baldwin Stockbridge will probably be the most impactful on the girls' side. All right, Class 3A girls real quick. Wesleyan, they look like the team to beat. They dominated Oconee County 46-26. They'll travel to Cross Creek in the Elite 8. Hart County and Carver, Columbus. You got Hebron Christian hosting Morgan County, and then White County and Monroe. And let's just look at the boys 3A before we close it out. Monroe, they scored a 61-41 win over Calvary Day, who was a number 4 seed that upset Peach in the first round. They're going to have to go to defending state champion Sandy Creek. Sandy Creek had the biggest win of the playoffs in the second round, 92-22, a 70-point win. I think they probably are the highest scoring team statistically this year, so Monroe will see if they can hang with the defending champs. Carver Columbus is going to go to Hart County. You also have Hebron Christian at Johnson Savannah. It'll be a big time matchup. And then Douglas Atlanta, team that when they are quickened, they can definitely compete with anyone. Doesn't matter what classification. They're going to go to Doherty. So I think Class 3 looks pretty wide open. Sandy Creek, though, they are the been there, done that team after taking it last year. But we're running out of time, so please go to scoreatl.com. We have so many recaps from this weekend up there, from Friday's results and Saturday's. We have the Sandy Creek one, all by classification, all by gender. You can check out the brackets as well, so you'll have plenty to look at scoreatl.com. In addition to this week, we'll have the lacrosse rankings, baseball, and soccer, as well as some more breaking news. And then Najee and I will be back tomorrow at noon for Underrated and Overlooked. Be sure to follow us there, subscribe to the YouTube page, and we'll see you then.
Dang, where you get this car?
You need to join the union.
The union?
Absolutely. You can get 10 of these.
Union construction workers earn the highest wages with the best benefits and the most protection in the construction industry. Find your career in construction. Go to GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com and start your future today.